So if Flying Wild Hog do anything right, it is over-the-top, beautiful, gory, action-packed games. And Evil West is no exception to this whatsoever. To be fair, I didn't even know this one was coming around the corner. I've been focusing on Shadow Warrior 3, but to be honest, this is a really nice surprise. The premise is, from what I can understand, the Weird West kind of genre, so you've got cowboy westernism, but with those nice dark sci-fi elements. And if I could compare it to anything, I would say it's like Van Helsing had a baby with Gears of War. It's in third person, it's coming out on the PC, and more importantly, it's coming to the Xbox. You can play it in solo mode, and you can also play it in co-op, and it is visceral, dirty, and explosive. It's certainly not a looter shooter from everything that I understand, but it is kind of one of those progress through, get loads of upgrades, and fight bigger and meaner monsters as you go. As a vampire hunter, you'll not only be fighting vampires, but also hordes of demonic monsters, and has lots of reminiscence to kind of a Doom-styled game, which in my opinion, is only a good thing. Because sometimes I don't want a great big complex story, I just want something simple that I can run, gun, and feel like a badass doing so. Now, as for stuff that we do know is concrete at the moment, I'll just reiterate over it again. It is a solo and a co-op game. I believe that is only 1 to 2 players, however. So the campaign is a reimagination of a lot of Weird West tales. Now, from me personally, I can only think this is going to be like Dracula, Frankenstein, and werewolves, but maybe there are other further additional Weird West tales I don't know about, so at the moment I'm just speculating on that one. There are perks and upgrades. You can upgrade your weapons and tools that you come along, and we get onto those a little bit later on. So there is a certain stylism that you can play to your character and, play the way that you want to. And again, mentioning the campaign, it is a story-driven campaign. This isn't about like a platform as a service. It's just about having a good time and shooting lots of monsters. So, in terms of gameplay, we don't know the name of the main character, but you are basically a badass Van Helsing style cowboy. So far I have identified the weapons work in the following way. So you have a fist, kind of like utility weapon. It's like a fist weapon with some prongs out of it. It's got all sorts of funky abilities, such as being able to electrify and teleporting, etc. And then in the other hand, you have like your standard weapons. So you've got like a revolver, a rifle, double barrel shotgun. Then using a combination of both, you do all sorts of cool combos and big flashy moves and just look like a badass doing it. So for example, there's a combo you can do where you can knock up your opponent with your fist, and then you'll use your revolver to shoot the opponent out of the air. Whether or not this is a finishing combo, maybe, but it looks cool and I'm here for it. There also seems to be an ability that allows you to electrify your gauntlet, and it kind of stuns them, and as you're hitting them you can see kind of like an X-ray of their skeleton, and then you can finish them off with another flashy move. It also looks like you can do a mixture of moves, so you've kind of got your standard light attack, but you can do heavier punches as well. I've already mentioned this, but there is a teleportation ability which gives you kind of like a short burst, and you can move to the other side of your opponent to carry on your attack. Also looks like you can chain your abilities together, so maybe there's like a Devil May Cry style system, because you can like punch up your opponent as we mentioned before, but you can also use the lightning to then slam them down back to the ground. And there's also a couple of weapons that really kind of reminisce with me. One is like this melee two-handed axe that you kind of like swipe down your opponent with. And these are also the same weapons that the enemies were using. So maybe there's the option to pick up enemy weapons and use them against them. But my personal favourite, and this is probably for me playing so many years of Team Fortress 2, but there's a flamethrower as well that looks absolutely awesome. And it's like, what better way to burn down the legions of hell with a great big flaming cannon. The world building also looks really cool. In true hell fashion, everything is very gory and demonic. There's insects, there's vampires, there's werewolves. There's also some sort of weird porcupine creature which I couldn't quite identify. You get to see one of the big bad bosses as well in one of the short cutscenes, who's just like this giant insect wielding creature. The different levels also look like they have their own biomes and variety to them. They are very Hellsing-esque, dark woods, dark swampy areas, a dark, damp, muddy western town. All the things that you would expect in kind of a Weird West environment. The last thing I want to mention is the co-op partner as well. So in the scene you can see there is another guy who's kind of got an eye patch, a bit of a grungy beard. That potentially, and I'm presuming, is the partner that you co-op with. I don't know anything about them at the moment except that he looks like he is ex-military and you are hooking up with him. It is also probably worth noting that he is different in design. He seems to be more kind of like more priest-esque, so maybe he won't have the same abilities as like the cowboy tech character, but we will just have to wait and see on that one. Either way, this title looks really, really good. I'm presuming it comes to Xbox Game Pass since there is a giant Xbox logo being stamped on it. There is no confirmed date for it so far apart from 2022, but the gameplay that we have seen is very mature. It looks like it has been well fleshed out and is pretty close to completion. I'm going to keep my finger very close on the pulse of this one because it looks like it's going to be an absolute blast. But until then, everyone have a great week, and as soon as I know more, I'll be back with more news.